Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we have another exciting match of Kid versus Zoro. As you can see, the opponent plays down his Bonnie first. For those who don't know, Bonnie can search through the top 5 of the deck and pull out any supernova type card. I end up playing Sanji. Now at this point in time, my hand is not the greatest. I have a Sanji, 3 Rush Luffys, and a Nami. Well, you're going to see how it plays out later on. He plays a Cat Viper down, rests my Sanji, knocks it out with the leader. Simple as that. Had I played my Nami down, he probably would have taken her out, but she was probably an essential tool for this entire game because I was on the ropes almost every single round. And it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. I got a lot of good game sense from reviewing the footage, what to do, what not to do. But anyways, let's continue. So, place the Nami down, activate her main ability, put 1 Rested Dawn under Zoro, making him 6k, attack his leader, and he takes it. Now, he pulls a Killer from Life, which has a trigger ability to play it onto the field. Its extra effect was to destroy a rested character of 3. Now, I didn't have any, so I didn't go. I draw Zoro, or put down Zoro with Zoro's leader ability. He's a 5 plus 1k, so 6k swing in a face. And my opponent also ends up taking that. It's now my opponent's turn. He has 5 Dawn to play with. And as you can see from his hand, he has got a lot of cards. So he's trying to figure out what to do. He ends up swinging to my character Zoro for 5k. I would simply need a 1k counter in my hand to be able to defend that, but I don't even have that. I think I just had a 2k counter and I didn't want to waste it, so I had to let the Zoro go, unfortunately. It is now my opponent's turn and he has 5 Dawn up and he decides to play down his Basil Hawkins. Now, for those who don't know, once Basil Hawkins attacks a character with 1 Dawn under him, he can restand himself and essentially attack again, which makes him a very valuable target to take out. And it becomes very dangerous, especially if you have a full board. He'll be able to just clear it out. Now it's back to my turn. I'm at 6 Dawn, and now it's time for one of my 3 Luffys to come out, which I end up dropping right here. I end up activating Nami's main ability to put 1 Rested Dawn under Zoro, to give the plus 1k ability to all my characters, and then I decide to swing with the Luffy for 6 plus 1k 7 to face. Now my opponent read that wrong and he put down a 2k counter. He needs 8k total, so 3k in counter in order to nullify the attack. He didn't want to waste his resources, so he just takes it, and then I swing 7k to his leader, and then this is when he ends up using his counters. Once again, it's a scary board state for me, but he hasn't swung at my life yet, so I do have the advantage. I'm still at 5 life, and he's only at 2. He ends up using one of his 7 Dawn to put under Basil, and I believe he is going to attack my Luffy. No, he ends up putting 2k, so 8k total to my 6k Luffy. I need 3ks in counters to do that. I don't have any counters in hand. Because he attacked a character, he's able to restand his Hawkins, and then he puts a blocker down. Blocker's killer ability is that if you place 1 Dawn under him and you have 3 or more characters on the field and you block, you're able to get a card draw. Now he ends up swinging with his leader to my leader for 5k flat. I don't have any 1k counters in hand, so I just have to eat it. He has 2 Dawn left to use. He uses 1 to search with Bonnie, take the top 5 of his deck, look for a Supernovas type card, and he ends up pulling the monster of the deck, which is the 8-cost Kid. Now for those new to the channel or new to the game, once 8-cost Kid is on the field and he's rested, that is the only target that you can attack. But the enemy can also still make use of his blockers to block attacks directed at the Kid. His last move, he ends up putting a beige down, and as you can see, I'm fast forwarding the video because at this point in time, it is a scary board. I don't know what to do. I have 2 Rush Luffys in hand, and he has no characters rested, so I can only attack his face. So I spent a few minutes trying to figure out my next move, and this is what I do. I end up putting 1 Dawn under the Zoro. I count my Dawn, trying to figure out how to manage my resources. I just end up taking my sweet time, recounting my Dawn, making sure I'm making the right move. I end up finally deciding that this is what I'm going to do. Going to place 1 Dawn under Zoro to make him 7k and swing for his face. He needs at least 3k in counters, and he's trying to figure out, do I want to use my counters in hand or do I want to block? And he ends up using his blocker killer and ends up drawing a card because of the ability. Now I only have 1 move left based on my attack plan, and that's to place down my Rush Luffy, who, when two Dawn are put under him, he becomes unblockable. I end up putting the Dawn, another Dawn, so plus Zoro and the two Dawns, he's now at a 9k and unblockable, and I go straight to face and he takes it. Now back to my opponent, he resets his board, resets his characters, takes his Dawn, draws his card, and now I know this is when 8-cost Kid is going to come out, and this spells trouble for me. He ends up looking at his hand extensively, trying to figure out if this is the right play to make and then all the Dawn to use. So now he has 9 Dawn. If he pulls out the 8-kid cost, he needs to commit 1 more Dawn. So it's all of his Dawn. So he ends up swinging 6k to my Luffy, hoping I don't have a counter. And I do. I have a 1k counter that I end up pulling out. And then he ends up swinging to my leader for 5k. And I used up my 1k counter. You can see him turn over his Dawn, play the 8-cost Kid. He ends up putting 1 Dawn underneath him, activating his main ability to put down a unit, but because of the card, you don't have to put a unit down. It says up to 1, so that means 0. Anyone who's faced green knows this board state all too well. You almost have an impossible situation. You need to be able to take out the Kid, but there's 1 blocker on the field, and then he has a Basil Hawkins who will also become a threat next turn. I end up taking my sweet time trying to figure out what to do. You could see the videos fast forwarding. I think it was maybe two minutes I took to figure out what I wanted to do. And I end up putting out my Gordon, which is minus 3,000 to 1 target. And then as soon as that ability is used up, Gordon goes straight back under the deck. Once again, we end up fast forwarding because I'm trying to figure out my order of operations here. I need to make this as efficient as possible. I don't want to make any mistakes because in this game, a single mistake will cost you. I put a tiny disclaimer that it's taking me so long to think because this is my 4th match of the night. And I think this is almost 3 hours into the tournament, and this game can be taxing on the brain. So playing these locals is a test of mental endurance. So what I end up doing, I end up putting 3 Dawn under the Luffy to make him 9k. I'm counting out my Dawn to make sure. I'm like, okay, am I making my play right? And at this point, based on the board state, I really don't have any options left. I know he can block. I can only attack the Captain Kid, so I need to do this right. I end up counting the Dawn again, making sure, okay, 9k. Count my Dawn in hand. All right, 5 plus 2. And then I swing with the Luffy, 9k unblockable to his 5k. You can see in his hand, he has his counters ready. He has 5ks in counters, bringing his Kid up to 10k. So my only other option at this point is to bring out the other Rush Luffy. But now what I realize is that I did not take advantage of Nami's activate main ability of putting a rested Dawn. So I put Luffy down, attached my other 2 Dawn that are up 8k to 5k. Made the huge mistake, should have attached rested. He ends up countering that, and I'm just sitting there after an unsuccessful attack thinking, I'm like, okay, what can I do? My brain's fried. I didn't even attack with my leader Zoro. This is how embarrassing it is. I probably could have made an attack directly to him for 6k using the Nami rested ability, but I didn't. So note to self, always look at your board state, remember what you need to use. In my head, I'm just thinking, I'm like, all right, this is over. He ends up attaching 2 Dawn to his Basil, making him 8k, 6k to Luffy. I believe I end up countering that with 2 counters in hand, a 2k and a 1k to bring him up to 9. He restands, ends up swinging again, I can't defend, and boom, he's gone. Uses a Kid, boom, Luffy's gone. Once again, empty board state. He ends up searching with the Jewelry Bonnie. He's got 6 Dawn left to use. He pulls out a blocker killer. And now he's trying to figure out how he's going to distribute the remaining 6 of his Dawn. So he puts 3 under his leader to make him 8k. Swinging for my leader, 8k to 5k. I've got nothing in hand. I can't defend that. I got to take the life. And as his final move of the turn, he ends up placing the blocker killer down. And if you have 5 characters and you want to place a unit down, you have to remove one from the field, which he removes a Cat Viper and puts killer down, attaches 1 Dawn, and it's my turn. And as you can see, folks, this does not look good for your boy. I was just stressing out the entire time. I was tired. I was like, I'm going to lose this. He's got a full board, 2 blockers, 8-cost Kid on the field. I have a Nami. I'm at 10 Dawn. I believe all I have in my hand, I have 3 cards. I have 1 Shanks. 2 of the other cards are counters. I can't really use them. You could see I moved the 1 Dawn because I need 9 to summon Shanks. And I end up asking him, like, how many cards in hand? And you could see he's got 2 of them there. Trying to figure out in my head, I'm like, okay, those 2 cards, they could be 2 2k counters, which would bring his leader up to 8k, or even his kid up to 12k. And I finally pull out the Shanks, and this was my opponent's first time seeing him, so that kind of felt good. For those who don't know, Shanks has Rush and can also swing over blockers who have 2k or less power, which are the blockers that he has on his field. I end up using Nami's main ability, and I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, okay, do I want to put it under the Shanks or put it under the Zoro? I put both under the Shanks, but my opponent's like, wait, wouldn't it make more sense to just put one under Zoro? He was a nice guy for helping me do that. And after all, we're all still learning this game. We've only been, what, 2.5 months into it. So I end up putting it under the Zoro to make him 6k. And Zoro's leader ability will give 1k to all my characters on the field. So Shanks will be at 12k. And I swing 8k to leader. He's got 2 cards in hand. He can't defend it. He can't use a blocker. Kid's done for. I do a little fist pump internally, get back to the game, and my only other option here is to attack with Zoro for 6k to leader. Now, I don't know if this was a misplay on his part, or if he got confused because he could have blocked with one of his characters. But he ends up deciding to eat it, so now he's at 0 health. I'm still at 2. At this point, it's do or die. He ends up resetting his board. He puts his Dawn out, draws his card, which was a Bonnie, I believe. And I asked to take a look at his trash just to see what I got rid of, what other counters he might have in hand, but I believe I took care of most of his 2k counters, so I'm like, okay, I should be in a pretty good spot if I can last. He puts his hand down and now tries to figure out how he's going to distribute his Dawn to do his thing. So he ends up putting 3 under the Hawkins, making him 9k to 5k. I can only defend at least 1 attack, so he ends up distributing his Dawn across his characters to make it 9k. I take the hit. He puts 4 under Kid, makes it 9k, swings to leader. I'm like looking at my hand, I'm like, do I defend it now? Do I defend it later? I end up taking a look at his board to see how much more damage he can do. I see he has 3 Dawn left up, and Kid's ability is to restand using 3 Dawn. So he restands right here, he trashes a card, and then swings again for 9k, and then this is when I pull out my counters. I got an Otama for 2, and then a Nami, and then a Sanji for 1 and 2 respectively. At this point, he's examining the board, trying to figure out what to do. He can't place any more units down. He's used up all of his Dawn. No other characters can attack, and there's the GG. I asked him what other cards he had in his hand, and all he had were 2 Bonnies and the Blocker Law. He said he probably could have tried to play another round and hold out and just be defensive by placing the Law down, but he was worried that I had a Jet Pistol which would instantly remove it. And I started looking through my cards to see if I had it coming up. Nada. So there you go, folks. Miracles do happen. No matter what the board state looks like, there's always a chance. So never, ever give up. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to give it a like and comment down below. I had a lot of fun editing this and definitely looking forward to making more content for the channel. Thanks again, guys, and stay tuned for more.